Hi folks, Edward the Hammer here with the second part to Jericho, the heart, both before and after regeneration. This is part two of three parts. Okay, so anyway, so continuing on with after you looked at the first part, if you haven't, then it's you need to. But anyways, the first mention of Jericho in Scripture is found in Numbers 22:1. Animated, or excuse me, in the Amplified Bible, it says this. The Israelites journeyed and encamped in the plains of Moab, on the east side of the Jordan River at Jericho. From the east now this is me speaking, that was the quote. From the east comes enlightenment, either from God or wrong sources. The plains of Moab are the pastures of carnal Christianity. The Jordan River, which means descending, dumps into the lowest lying spot on terra firma, into the Dead Sea, where nothing can live. Thus we see that his first mention is closely related to Moab, flesh, the false enlightenment of strange fire, and a cesspool like death stench. Again, this negative sketch keeps accentuating the deceitfulness and dirtiness of the human heart before redemption. It is noteworthy that even contemporary news about Jericho speaks of the heart and heart cleansing. Daniel Tiemann, writing for the GTA, a Jewish newspaper, wrote an article on September 30th, 2013 entitled Downcast in Jericho, Then and Now. It was 20 years ago, according to Tiemann, that Israel handed the city of Jericho over to the Palestinians. The Palestinians, the land of wanderers, or of those who roll in the dust, my insertion, were unhappy then and now because of economic problems and Israeli military forces too near and around the city. Also, anger was still polluting the hearts of both sides because of past indiscretions. Indeed, also according to Tiemann, 2 decades on, we're still waiting for a final agreement concerning land control and for, and I accentuated this very large, hearts to be cleansed. The Palestinians supposedly have the literal Philistines as ancestors, but it seems they have all died out. But symbolically, at least, they still do. They are those who often fought with Israel and Judah, who even once captured the Ark of the Covenant. They are a backflowing or backfilling force, an inverted stream of life, thus a stream of death, like a backed-up sewer line, polluting the heart with the Adamic nature or carnality. They are why the heart needs perpetual cleansing, because the carnal mind or heart is enmity with God. Now, Thomas Bromley, he lived from 1629 to 1691, wrote about all the places Israel stopped at in their journey from Egypt to the Promised Land. In the journeys of the children of Israel, as in the names and historical passages, they comprise the great and gradual work of redemption. That was the name of his article. He says this about the last stop before entering Canaan. The last station of Israel, here enumerated, is fixed in the plains of Moab. They descended to it from the mountains of Abarim, intimating further humiliation in bearing the cross and submitting to chastisements. Moab signifies of the Father. The plains of Moab are the plains of the Father, importing that the spiritual travelers are yet in the Father's work, not wholly out of that dispensation, whilst under Moses or the prophetic light of the law, yet leading to the Son. By the Father's dispensation, I mean the first in the order of regeneration, expressed by John 6:44. No man can come to me except the Father that hath sent me, draw him. As Israel was yet under Moses, whose name Mash signifies drawing, or a drawer, who had drawn the people out of Egypt, was now preparing them to submit to Joshua as their chief leader. So all this was done in type, representing the light of the Father in the first dispensation, drawing us to the Son, figured by Joshua. Also, just before entering Canaan, just before the mantle of authority passed from Moses, the Sinai or wilderness light, law, and manna, to Joshua, the promised land light, gospel, and the cleansed produce, symbolically no longer cursed with thorns and thistles. The Lord spake to Moses in the plains of Moab by the Jordan opposite Jericho, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel, and say to them, When you cross over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their figured stones, and destroy all their molten images, and demolish all their high places. And you shall take possession of the land and live in it, for I have given the land to you to possess it. You shall inherit the land by lot, according to your families. To the larger you shall give more inheritance, and to the smaller you shall give less inheritance. Wherever the lot falls to anyone, that shall be his. You shall inherit according to the tribes of your fathers. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come about that those whom you let remain of them will become as pricks in your eyes, and as thorns in your sides, and they will trouble you in the land in which you live. And as I plan to do to them, so I will do to you. Numbers 30, 50 through 56. The city of palm trees. Another interesting definitional term or phrase for Jericho was the city of palm trees, first called that in Deuteronomy 34:3. Because not only was the city surrounded by the tallest and highest walls, which were man-made and thus false/artificial protection against invasion. Indeed, unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. Psalm 127:1. But it also abounded with palm trees. Note the date palm is the palm tree of the Bible, and it grows not coconuts, but like the tropical palm tree. Also, some rabbinical sources claim that the date palm tree is the tree of life mentioned in context with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in Genesis. Though this is uncertain, a noteworthy attribute of the date palm is its complete edibility or usefulness. From the highest leaves and branches down to the roots, every bit of the date palm tree is either edible or useful to mankind. The Hebrew word for a date palm means erect, and came to represent a righteous woman. They were said to resemble a woman standing. Your stature is like that of a palm, and your breasts like clusters of fruit. I said, I will climb the palm tree. I will take hold of its fruit. SOS 7, 7 through 8. An erect or righteous woman who can find. She nurtures and provides for her household. She is fruitful. Thus the date palm closely symbolizes the heart. She is not easily won and is fragile all the while. But it is absolutely necessary that she be won from the heart so as to motivate and inflame any worthy cause. She is indeed at the center of all causes. She is the mother lode, the milk, and the originator of the man-child. Additionally, date palms grow in hot and arid climates and are an indicator, an oasis locator of essential water. She is a diviner of life and represents the very spring of fertility and blessing that her roots draw from. Hardly inferior to honey for sweetness, the processed date fruit this palm tree produces is a very desirable commodity. Thus, the date palm appears to best represent femininity and mother love and care. She is like the woman at the well. She is not the well herself, but a pointer to the well of life. In Elim, a resting place for the children of Israel as they were leaving Egypt, they found 12 wells and 70 palm trees. It was the 70 palm trees, elders or evangelists, that drew people to the 12 wells, tribal leaders or apostles. Likewise, the lady at the well and all womanly influence and grace, the bride of Christ, ought to point us to the well of life, Christ, the apostle of our faith. Once the insatiable thirst is quenched, salvation, all the mothering palms are used to nurture and feed the newborn's growing hunger. God bless. End of part 2.